I believe I'm one of the few political commentators who predicted that the US under Trump would abandon Modi. Before Trump returned to the White House, Indian media were jubilant. Paki Sharma even praised the personal friendship between Modi and Trump, boasting that the world's largest democracy and the oldest democracy would closely cooperate to contain China. At that time, Indians in the comments section mocked me for being jealous of the close relationship between India and the US. But I refuted them with rigorous logic, gaining widespread agreement, with my videos maintaining a like rate between 89 and 95%. However, talking tough is obviously meaningless. I said in my videos back then that it would take less than a year to prove my prediction. Now, all my predictions have come true. Not only has the US abandoned India, but Trump and his subordinate officials have repeatedly humiliated India. J.D. Vance and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who handles trade negotiations, have made multiple statements against India in public. For example, Vance said the war between India and Pakistan is completely irrelevant to the US. He even complained to his boss, Trump, that Microsoft hired too many Indians, leading Trump to warn Microsoft and Google to reduce Indian hires. Bessent bluntly stated that India is unimportant and not a major player. When asked about China, he said China is unlike the Soviet Union, Germany, or Japan, presenting a comprehensive rival the US has never faced. These videos are in my playlist. Those interested can check my old videos to see how I used knowledge to dismantle Modi's fans. Of course, this video isn't to brag about my near 100% prediction accuracy, but to dive a bit deeper into why I was certain Trump would abandon India and what drives him. I'd say the reasons are very complex, but I don't need all of them. Just a few are enough for me to conclude that Trump would abandon India. Let's talk about Modi's high point. During Trump's first term, Modi visited the US, gave speeches in American cities, and promoted US and India friendship. After Biden took over the White House, India became a member of Quad, standing alongside the US, Japan, and Australia, three developed nations, to carry the flag of containing China. Western media praised India, claiming it would replace China as the world's factory and the next superpower, thanks to its demographic dividend. So why did I determine this was all an illusion, a castle built on sand? When Trump was president the first time, he didn't understand India's strength and thought India was as capable as China. If India was willing to be a US pawn, it would give him a strong ally against China. But he visited China and saw what it's like. His cronies also know China's strength, and the US military provides him with extensive intelligence. Compared to China, India is utterly insignificant. It has no core technology and doesn't dominate any key industry. Although India has a population as large as China's, its basic education is poor, academic fraud is rampant, and its workforce quality is very low, making it impossible to build a vast, complete industrial system like China's. Moreover, China is advancing Industry 4.0, initiated by Germans. With automation and unmanned production lines, robots are replacing humans in most entry-level jobs. The historical opportunity for industrialization through labor-intensive industries is gone forever. The last train is the industrialization happening in Southeast Asia and Mexico. India, due to backward infrastructure, political infighting, and a government that constantly boasts and fakes data, has missed this final train. India may never industrialize. The fact is, India's manufacturing share of GDP has hovered around 15% for the 11 years since Modi took power. No matter how Modi and the BJP government tweak GDP statistics to include cow dung, it can't change India's economic fundamentals. This country is becoming an economic island. Its companies are completely uncompetitive globally, unable to compete with Chinese firms or even those from Southeast Asian countries. This is why Modi dares not join RCEP, because Indian companies aren't ready to compete with ASEAN firms. The Biden administration courted India, making it a core part of Quad. But working with a country like the US requires constantly proving your value, or you'll be abandoned. South Vietnam and Afghanistan's governments were ruthlessly discarded when the U.S. shifted its strategy. India's core problem is that it boasts it can confront China, but in the Galwan Valley clash, India was humiliated by China again. Modi banned Chinese apps and canceled visas for Chinese citizens. The result? India's trade deficit with China grew to a staggering $100 billion. Chinese companies even raised purchasing standards for Indians, requiring half or full prepayment for shipments. Moreover, the Chinese government restricted exports of rare earths, magnets, urea, industrial machinery, and engineering equipment to India, refusing to sell even for money. This humiliation made the U.S. see India's true strength, realizing it's pointless to work with such a burden, pay for its dog food, and grant tariff concessions. Of course, the India and Pakistan air war was the final straw that crushed India. The U.S., with its robust intelligence system, clearly saw India being unilaterally humiliated by Pakistan. Against Chinese weapon systems, India is a generation behind. After returning to the White House, Trump recognized that India is like Italy in World War II, and Modi is a poor imitator of Mussolini. You can't win with such a teammate. The best approach is to humiliate it and make it pay for the U.S. So, before the India and Pakistan air war, I predicted Trump would abandon India. After the air war, I predicted he'd not only abandon but also humiliate India. These have all been proven true. But there's a very important factor mainstream media often avoid mentioning. Trump is a typical racist and white supremacist. No matter how he hides it, he can't shed his white-first ideology. He discriminates not only against Black and Latino people, but also looks down on Chinese, Indians, and other Asians. For votes, he may reluctantly seek endorsements from people of color in some settings, but deep down, he wants to restore a white-dominated American social order. Indianization is an unspoken pain for Five Eyes countries. Indians are flooding these nations, taking up significant welfare and resources, with their communities growing rapidly. Except for the U.S., where strict laws, strong policing, and a large population keep things in check, Indian immigrants in other countries are basically out of control. But under the U.S. Constitution, as president, he has no authority to enact an Indian-specific immigration ban. So, he publicly criticized Apple, warning it not to move production lines to India, and told Microsoft and Google to stop hiring Indians to preserve jobs for Americans. He repeatedly attacked the H-1B visa, as 70% of its quotas go to Indians. But he can only serve 4 years, and he knows his power is limited. So, he has a clever strategy: launch a humiliating trade war against India, straining U.S. and India relations. Modi and India have two choices. First, accept U.S. trade extortion and bleed for the U.S. This way, money Indians earn from the U.S., including through telecom scams, would partly flow back to the U.S. as compensation. Meanwhile, Trump can directly order India to sacrifice its interests to confront China without expecting any U.S. returns. The second choice is for Modi to stubbornly resist the U.S., playing right into Trump's hands. He can escalate attacks on India. If India surrenders under U.S. pressure, it will face more demands, bleeding more to feed the U.S. If India withstands the U.S. attacks, Trump will incite MAGA supporters to hate India. Defeating China is hard, but setting up India as an opponent and beating it is something the U.S. can easily do. I hope those in the comment section accusing me of racial bias against India think carefully. It's Trump and the U.S. hurting India. As a Chinese person, I'm just stating the truth. Have Chinese people humiliated you like Trump has? Shouldn't you be calling out Trump's racism? Shouldn't people like Paki Sharma and Arnab Ranjan Goswami, who hyped India and the U.S. joining forces against China and boasted about Modi and Trump's deep friendship, be held accountable? Who made India lose face globally? Was it me? Isn't it Modi and his clownish fans who gave Trump the chance to humiliate India? In this video, I predict again that Modi had better surrender to the U.S. immediately. He shouldn't think Trump only has a few cards to play. If Trump reaches a compromise with China, India will face unimaginable disaster. Trump can completely halt Indian visas, ban Indian remittances, order U.S. companies to stop investing in India, and prohibit India from buying U.S. weapons or using U.S. technology. Don't think you can counter the U.S. Think hard. Do you really have any cards to play? Would stopping U.S. apps like Google or Facebook from operating in India make them collapse? Won't you check how much India contributes to these companies? Without Google, Microsoft, Facebook, or X, see if you collapse. Not to mention, clowns like Pocky and Ernub would see their incomes plummet or even lose their jobs, let alone ordinary people. A few years ago, you banned TikTok. Did TikTok collapse? Isn't it thriving? Has India developed software to replace TikTok? Aren't you still relying on American technology? Lastly, I want to say to Indians, I've never opposed Indian immigration abroad or even to China. I don't oppose India becoming a superpower. It wouldn't negatively affect me. But I strongly oppose you disrupting public order, like leaving hateful comments on my channel, accusing me of racism, or mocking me for being jealous of the Bharat Empire. Or like picnicking in Tibet's Everest Nature Reserve and littering, defecating on beaches in Canada or Thailand, shoplifting in U.S. supermarkets, or scamming American elderly out of billions annually. I'd say I'd criticize these actions whether done by Indians or Chinese. This isn't racism. The real racist is Modi. Not only has he failed to dismantle the caste system, but he's also upholding it. He's incited hatred against Muslims, causing many tragic incidents to occur. Your worldview is flawed. Before criticizing me, get your head checked at a hospital.